Barefoot blogger. I started my journey to France on a lark, on a whim. And not everybody out there is as crazy as I am. So a lot of people have a lot of questions. And the questions that concern me the most is you want to know about visas, you want to know about getting housing, you want to know about the language. But I think that there's a lot that people are honestly dealing with internally, about, is this the right thing for me to do? Am I just following the crowd? Is this a lark? Is it a dream? What is it? And I think that having someone with your ability to do life coaching and help them understand the path, and then help to understand themselves and whether it's right for them or if it's the thing to do. And so I would like for you to introduce your company to my friends.
Sure. Well, just maybe to tell you a little bit about my experience. I made a decision to move back to Europe. I chose France as a starting place. I came here for 6 months. I had a project that I wanted to work on. I wanted to study the language a bit and think deeply about what I wanted my life to be. And what ended up happening is I lucked into a situation where I came to this beautiful town of Uzès as a house sitter for a friend. And in that 6 months that I was here, where I thought I would be writing a book, instead what happened is I fell into society, into the region, into loving this place so deeply that I never really considered leaving again. And at the end of the 6 months, the moment came where I had to decide if I was going to stay and leave. And my thought was, I could find a different place, but I'll never find a better place than this. And I have always been happy with that decision. But what I have learned over the 7.5, almost 8 years that I've lived here is I would have had a very different experience here if I had really taken that time before deciding whether I was going to come or stay, thinking about what life I wanted to create for myself. Because I knew I was ready for a different life, which is why I was making the move in the first place. But I wasn't really clear on what I was moving to and what life I wanted to step in, who I wanted to be in that. Because especially coming out of a very intense career and wanting a different kind of life and essentially leaving that behind, I didn't have a clear vision of what would bring me joy at this time. I knew I needed something better and softer, but I didn't know what it was exactly. I think that the success in how we make life live in such a different kind of environment, how we make it work for us and for everyone else in our life, is to really get into crystal clarity about what we're creating for ourselves, to ensure that the effort and the investment, financial and otherwise, that we're putting into things is actually going to get us that outcome or get us as close to that as possible, or maybe even bring us something better that we hadn't thought of. It's because I didn't have clarity. I recreated the life that I had before in a smaller, more manageable form, but essentially exactly the same components of the life, and without clarity to people about how I was going to be showing up in their lives. And so there's some very hard-learned lessons in all of this. People who are creating a new life for themselves, people who are re-identifying and really wanting to step into something that they feel very intuitively is their real life, All of those are different journeys that people take.
Right.
And so being able to accompany people on all those journeys has been the work of my last 5 years. And also being able to really give deep thought to how I would do the process again if I were to do it. This isn't the first move internationally that I've made. I've lived in multiple countries across the world, and I wish that I could go back and do them all again, because I've come to it from such a different place now.
For people, and I'm talking people who are 55 and older, who are thinking about coming to France to live, to retire, to spend the last, or at least part of their last days here. What is the number one, if you had a question on their mind?
The number one question actually has been, how do I do this without destroying everything that I'm leaving behind? I'd say is the primary question before people move.
Yeah, I think that's very intuitive.
Yeah.
Very true. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, and we don't want to hurt people.
Yeah.
The second question, once people make the decision and they start to make the transition, or at least they're deeper into the planning process, becomes I'm now giving things up to create a new life, and I want to get it right the first time. So what are the key elements that I know I need to get into place or make decisions on or understand in order to find the right position to put myself in?
And you're talking about in both places, in the place you're leaving as well as the place you're going.
Yeah, more once you start the transition, then it really becomes like, and then where do I place myself?
Exactly.
That where I'm going to be able to create this life that I want. What kind of environment is going to suit me?
Yeah.
What do I need to be able to be successful in that situation? Are there parts of myself I need to change in order to do that? What am I not thinking about that I need to do that? The kind of instinct to really, the desire that comes from tasting this new life and really wanting to get it right. Defining your new situation properly. There's a lot of choices that are going to be made differently. Do you rent versus do you buy? Like, you're going to have an enormous garden. Are you going to have a place where you can shut the shutters and leave, right? How much liberty do you want in this new lifestyle? You know, often people create very complicated new scenarios for themselves that are very difficult to extract themselves from. Whereas you can also live lightly, you know, and have more freedom, and nothing then becomes problematic. So it goes back to having this clarity on what is the life that you want to have, and if you want to be able to maintain strong connections back home, that's gorgeous. But it has a lot of implications for where you might choose to live, the situation you might choose to live in, what you want to sell or keep behind you, and what you want to create in this new place. So, I think all of the options are possible, and the more clarity you have sooner in the process, the better you're going to structure your life so that you can live in ease and happiness.
It would have been helpful if I had had a backup plan. If I had not been kicking the can down the road and figuring it out as I go. I wish I had planned this with someone who could have helped guide me. What am I going to do when things go wrong back home? What is my backup plan for that so I can still do this? Because I've seen a lot of people leave and then regret it.
Sometimes people get to what they think is going to be their dream, and it turns out not to suit them. Right. But they've already liquidated everything, and they've cut their ties, and so now they can't go back. They burnt the bridge.
Wow.
Right, and they're here.
Yes.
You know, we find instances where one person in a couple really loves a place, and the other one doesn't feel comfortable there at all, and you know, so we see a lot of divorces here.
Oh. Wow.
And there's a lot of couples who split.
Must die.
There's a lot of couples who split shortly after making a big shift like this, and so you know, again, it comes back to being able to have important conversations, asking the right questions of ourselves and each other, and then really essentially making almost a contract of like, if we can do this well, then this is going to happen. If it doesn't work out this way for both of us, then what are we going to take?
Do you know what we've done in this few minutes introducing you? We have set up a whole series of things with questions, with suggestions, with examples that people have. So I want to invite my friends to participate with us in this discussion, to invite them to become part of the discussion. We might bring in some other people that you feel or I feel have something really pertinent to talk about that you might want to help guide them to issue.
Sure, just invite people to bring their specific questions so that we can address them on this channel.
Okay, that's a great idea. Well, we will find that French footsteps as well. So thank you for introducing yourself.
Well, thank you for introducing me to these amazing people.
And I am so happy to have somebody with your ability and credibility to help people along this journey, because I think it's worth it.
I think one of the things that you and I have in common is that we are people who follow our instincts, and we have a great joy for life. And one of the greatest joys that I've yet has been moving to France, and we both love meeting incredible people who move here, who want to come here, who have an interest in coming here. I find them to be usually people of extraordinary character and very curious and passionate. So we definitely want to be here to support you. And also to know that for some people the right decision isn't to fully
Exactly.
move, but to create a life
Right.
here that supports them without having to give anything up at all.
Exactly. So we will be able to address a lot of big questions, and like Brisa said, please enter in some questions that you might like to have answered. And we're going to make this for a few weeks and maybe months even, that we can have these conversations. So let's keep talking. And thank you.
Barefoot, 우린 같은 온도에 있어.